Welcome back to Greek, and I'm sure you're excited to learn that we are ready to finish off the principal parts. We're going to learn our last principal part. There it is in all its glory, all 6 principal parts of our paradigm verb leo. Leo, liso, elisa, lelica, lelemai, elitein. There they are. So, this is present indicative active, future indicative active, aorist indicative active, perfect indicative active, perfect indicative middle passive, and now aorist passive, forming our last principal part. Normally, how do you make a regular 6 principal part? The augment, so you see the augment there, plus the present stem, there's the present stem, plus theta, and then your endings to form your aorist passive. What are those endings? Here they are. Alethein, alethes, alethe, alethemin, aletheta, alethesan. So, ein, ace, a, amen, eta, asan. That's a pattern we've certainly heard before, this time with eta all the way through. Okay. The infinitive, lethenai. So the ending is ani, and here you can see, so this, the present stem plus the theta, that becomes the aorist passive stem. So when we talk about the aorist passive stem, that's what we're talking about. Now there are some oddities, of course, since we're adding a letter, just when we added sigma or when we added kappa, sigma for the aorist and future and kappa for the perfect. When we add theta for the aorist passive stem, that's also going to cause problems. If we add theta to a labial, a pi or a beta, we end up, that changes to phi theta. When we add theta to a kappa or a gamma, a guttural, we get the aspirated guttural, chi theta, kthe. When we add a theta to a dental, that changes to s, stha. Okay, so I would make this a chart, so you can learn that as well. And of course, we'll always make our verbs a chart. Verb form is a chart. How do you form the aorist subjunctive? Well, you're going to take the aorist stem, right? Drop the augment from the 6th principal part, drop the ending from the 6th principal part, and you're left with the aorist stem, which again is formed with the present stem plus theta. But again, if you got an irregular principal part, you need to come to the 6th principal part, drop the epsilon, drop the ending, and whatever is left will be your stem. And then you add your normal subjunctive endings, but with an irregular accent. So if we come here to the verb chart and we drop down to the subjunctive, aorist subjunctive passive, we see it as this irregular accent. Litho, lithes, lithe, lithomen, litheta, lithosen. So note that, makes it easy to spot. Otherwise, if it didn't have that, it would be very difficult to tell apart from the active voice, wouldn't it? Well, no, because we've got the theta, yeah. But the endings are even a little different here in the aorist with an irregular principal part. Excuse me, with an irregular accent on that 6th principal part. Okay, moving on. How do we translate these things? Of course, it's the passive voice. So, I was loosed. So the present, or excuse me, the aorist tense, simple past. I was loosed. Here the infinitive, to be loosed, because the aorist outside of the indicative again doesn't deal with time directly as much as aspect, just the pure action itself, to be loosed. And so the subjunctive, when we're in the subjunctive again, we're dealing with a simple action. So this is going to simply be I may be loosed, subjunctive mood. I could be loosed, so forth. What else do we form on the 6th principal part besides the aorist passive? We form the future passive also on the 6th principal part. We take the aorist passive stem, we add ace, eta sigma, and then the normal middle passive endings that you know so well. So here is my future passive indicative. Lithesomai, lithese, lithesetai, lithesomatha, lithesistha, lithesantai. So omai, atai, amatha, estha, antai. Endings you know very well. How do you get the stem? You take the 6 principal part stem, drop the augment, drop the ending, you're left with the stem. You add ace, and then your omai, atai, amatha, estha, antai. That's how we form the future passive. So, lithesomai, I will be loosed. I will be loosed in the future. The same pattern happens if it's an irregular. So he gives the example from the verb grapho. So, grapho, you have to type in Greek. Grapho has an irregular 6th principal part of, that's not too irregular actually, but we'll call it irregular. Graphane. So how do I get to my stem? I drop the augment and I drop the ending, so I end up with graph. I add ace, and then so graphesomai, my accent would also change. Graphesomai. And that would be I shall be written. So we'll make it a little more sensical. Graphesetai. It shall be written. Okay. And because this chapter just didn't have enough, let's throw in the future indicative active of the verb to be. It's very simple as far as it goes. Esamai, esai, esamatha, esistha, esantai. Easy enough to recognize, easy enough to memorize. Say our omai, a, tai. Lost our a there. Amatha, estha, antai endings. And what else do we have? Oh, page 78, vocabulary. Thank goodness. We can move on to vocabulary from there. So once again, just a very big chapter here, finishing out, which if you're taking this course through Wittenberg Academy, this is the end of Greek 2. But these last 3 chapters, boy, they have had a lot in it. So take your time, learn it, and be ready to proceed to the translations after you've spent a day or two really learning the vocabulary and really learning these new verb forms.